Hey everyone, Dave here with Blues Bears Games with another edition of $20 budget decks for Magic. Today's deck is called Beast Mode. Essentially, we have a green Stompy deck. I refer to Stompy a lot. Stompy just means very efficient creatures, usually higher power than their casting cost. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. So we start off with Garrett Companion. 2 to cast, 3/2 Trampler. Pretty efficient creature for 2 casting cost. I went ahead and put a playset of those in. The next card is Colonian Tusker. Again, another 2 to cast, 3 power creature. This one just has a third point in toughness, and we take the trample away. Alright. This one is the tech of the deck. It's the only creature that's probably not a beast. I could be wrong, but I think it is. This one is a 3 to cast 2/3, which in today's Magic standards, it's pretty, it's okay. Back in the day, this would have been pretty powerful for its casting cost. But the tech of it is, at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on target beast you control. You're going to have a lot of beast targets to add and make bigger, so we went ahead and put 4 of those in, because every time one of those goes off, you can possibly get a creature to +4/+4. Alright, Battering Krasis. Now, its power and toughness is not very high for the casting cost. However, it does have trample, and it does evolve. Evolve means whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, if that creature has a greater power or greater toughness, you put a +1/+1 counter on this. Now, with this deck, you have a lot of creatures that are going to have a higher power, or mostly higher power, but some with a higher toughness. It's going to evolve at least a minimum of 3 times during the game, if you're lucky. So I put 2 of those in. Timbermaw Lava. It doesn't look very good. It's a 4 to cast 2/2, so it doesn't fit the whole power toughness. However, the ability itself, which was to its attack, when it attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each forest. Remember, guys, we're in mono green Stompy. We're gonna have, by the time this drops, at least 4, but possibly up to 6 extra forests in play. So imagine hitting this for +6/+6, making it an 8/8. That is the very definition of a beast. All right. Next, we have Rumbling Baloth. At one point in time in Magic, a 4 to cast 4/4 was very curve effective and very cheap. They're lately doing a lot more 4 to cast 4/4s. There is an elf that is a 4 to cast 3/3 that you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's in one of the other decks, so this is more common now than it used to be, but it's still an efficient creature. A 4 to cast 4/4 is nothing to sneeze at. So we got 2 of those. Baloth Gorger. I added this when I opened up some Dominaria. It's another 4 to cast 4/4, but for late game, if for some reason it goes very late, it has the kicker, and the kicker is if it does get kicked, it gets 3 +1/+1 counters. Essentially, it could be a 7/7. So I originally had 4 Rumbling Baloths in, and then this was I opened a couple of these, so I threw a couple of these in because it's essentially the same thing since they're both beasts. Alright, Garrick Pack Leader. It's a 5 to cast 4/4, and whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under control, draw a card. I've talked about this in detail. Green has an issue drawing cards. It usually draws its cards through its creatures that it casts, or other ways with its creatures. Almost all the creatures in this deck will end up being have a 3 power anyway, so that's how you're going to draw your cards to get more beasts on the battlefield. Alright, Thundering Tanadon. Okay, so it looks like it's a 6 to cast 5/4 Trampler. In essence, though, if you feel like paying the 4 life, you can make it a 4 to cast 5/4 Trampler. So it's really your choice depending on what it looks like on the battlefield. If you're low on life, I would not suggest doing that. However, if it's 4th turn and you're still at your starting life total, you go ahead and drop this down. A lot of people can't deal with a 5/4 Trampler that early. I put 4 of those in here. And remember, Advocate of the Beast is in this deck. With Advocate of the Beast in here, you're going to be making things bigger and bigger. Alright, so green doesn't have direct damage. Its direct damage comes from or its creature removal comes from things like Prey Upon. These cards, there is a whole bunch of different ones. It makes your creatures fight other creatures. The point of this is that your creatures should be bigger than your opponents. If not, something went wrong. So they fight. Fighting just means that they each deal their power to each other. So you should essentially be eliminating most of the opposing creatures this way. So I went ahead and put 4 of those in because you always need creature removal. The buffs, Echoing Courage. If you have, I put a lot of 4-ofs in this deck because I put Echoing Courage in the deck. It gives +2/+2 to a creature and any creature with the same name. This is usually good for a token deck, but for the sake of this deck, there's a lot of play sets that are 4-ofs in here. So I went ahead and threw that in there because you might have the benefit of 2 or 3 being out. Another fight mechanic, Hunt the Weak. This one is basically a Prey Upon, but with a +1/+1 counter added to your creature. So again, more fighting. The fight part of this deck is where you're going to get your creature removal from. So there's 2 of them in there. The buffing begins here. Really, if you've got your board state, you've got a whole bunch of creatures in play. Overrun is basically your kill. While Echoing Courage gives it to the same, +2/+2 to any creatures with the same name, this gives it to all of them. It gives them all +3/+3 in trample. The whole point of this is to hopefully curve into this on 5th turn and basically win the game. So, now for the rares. I'm going to start with the special edition rare here. This is a foil Into the Wilds. I included this because it says at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. This is kind of a faux way of drawing cards. It's actually a little bit more important, though, because it actually gets around that 1 land per turn rule. So if for some reason you've dropped this down and you've got extra lands in your hand from your opening hand, if you put this down and the next turn 1 goes into play through Into the Wilds, you also get to play your land. Remember, you get to also draw a card after your upkeep on the draw step. So you could essentially remove 2 lands from muddling up your draws in the future. So I went with this because it helps with keeping land out of your deck. Renegade Krasis was the next one. Another evolved creature. It's a 3 to cast, 3/2. Okay? Whenever it evolves, you also put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control with a counter. So there's the synergy there with Advocate of the Beast. The point is that you put this in play. Anytime something evolves, you also can put +1/+1 counters on other things if you've got it set up correctly. Because of that, I actually went with a couple of those. 2 Renegade Krasises, because that's actually important. That puts synergy in the deck. It makes your creatures get really big really fast. And Garrick's Horde. It's expensive, I know. It's a 7 to cast, but if the game's going long, you're going to need something. It's also a 7/7. It's also a beast. You also get to play with the top card of your library revealed, and you can cast it if it's a creature. That's important because that adds synergy to the Into the Wilds. If the top card of your library is a creature card, after your draw phase, you can actually play it to get out of the way, and then on the beginning of your next turn, you might possibly be able to use the Into the Wilds to get another land into play, also drawing a card which may also be another creature. So there's a lot of synergy in the deck for a small little beast deck. One of the issues I have at the cons is that people don't understand why I would make a beast deck and they kind of pass it up. Gotta be honest with you, this is one of the more synergistic decks that I've made. It actually hits harder than most of them too. So I kind of would like to go ahead and get this one sold as soon as possible because I like this deck. I want this one to succeed. I want people to see it and I want them to understand it. So that's that. We're in mono, so I still put in some fetches, as you will, so that we can get the land out of the way. But because we're mono, I didn't have any reason to put anything that was a dual land, any gates or anything like that, so we went with a couple of different cards. Turn Timber Grove, when it enters, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Just making your creatures bigger as you go. So, and then the rest are forests. So that's Beast Mode. I actually really like this deck more than most. I don't know why people don't understand or give it a chance, but I'd like to see somebody take it home and womp on somebody, as you will. So that is Beast Mode. Alright, as usual, if you have any comments or questions, please comment below. Please be sure to like us on Facebook. It's Blue Bears Games. Like and share this video out to your social media. I'd like to see some more views coming through. And subscribe to the channel. I've got a whole lot of stuff coming up. I'll just show you real quick. I have all those to go through. Some of them I have, but that's a lot of decks to go through. So I have a lot more content coming up. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and you'll go ahead and see everything I put out. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.